What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So a bunch of stuff to go over today because, go figure, loot boxes are finding their way back into Black Ops 4. Is anyone really surprised that Activision would do this? Probably not, no. And then we also have to look at Square Enix because it looks like they could be having a big game coming out at the end of this year, and I think we might have some guesses as to hopefully what it is, or maybe it's something we haven't even seen yet. Interesting stuff here. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, hit the like button. It does help out. We're actually going to start today with, we're going to start with Pokemon. Because, let me ask you a question. If Mr. Matsuda tweets out a picture of him catching a Weedle on Pokemon Go, what do you think happens from that? Well, if you guess that fans start cross-checking everything in the picture and circling with red circles, as you see here, you would be correct. Because, yeah, everyone is really interested in the next Pokemon game that's set to come out later on this year, and a lot of people are expecting an event before E3, as usually the tradition, to tell us all about these new Pokemon games, so that people are now pretty much just examining everything he's doing. Now, he's kind of brought this on himself, Mr. Matsuda, because he also has made tweets in the past leading up to Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, where he kept taking pictures in the background of Pikachu and Eevee next to each other, off-center, basically all out of focus, you know, out of the way, and it was more of a hint. So people, of course, took his image and started checking all of the numbers, and from that, we seem to have a consensus that the reveal is February 26th, and that it will be called Pokemon King and Queen. A lot of information apparently came out of that Weedle. Now, is this literally a tease towards that? I'm not sure. Matsuda's done some crazy stuff in the past when it comes to Twitter, so I won't rule it out. But here's the deal. If February 26th comes and goes, then well, nothing happened, and that, I guess, technically wasn't any kind of tease. Also, the Fallout 76 watch continues, where we see just how little retailers can get rid of these things for, and we've hit a new all-time low. That makes me wonder, well, why aren't you just free to play yet? And, well, it's interesting nonetheless. Here's a picture actually that was posted on the PlayStation Reddit where someone actually screen captured a $5 promotion for Fallout 76. Basically, you have to buy $5 PlayStation 4 thumbsticks, and they'll give you a copy of Fallout 76 for the PlayStation 4, whether you want it or not. And this is actually a Polish retailer by the name of XCOM, and yeah, it's an interesting thing to see. Again, I don't know why it's not free to play. You figure it would be at this point because retailers are trying to get rid of it. However, most retailers still around me are trying to get $60 for it. So these seem to be timed promotions that are set up, again, just to help move stock if they have a ton in the back. I'm not sure if we'll ever see this in my area unless Bethesda really does come out and say, oh yeah, it's free to play now. I don't think that would be great, though. I don't think that'd sit well with a lot of people who bought in at the end of last year. So I think they need at least a full year or two under their belt before they can go free to play and people just not even notice. Although I kind of question how many people are playing Fallout 76 at this time anyway, because last we heard it wasn't an obscene amount of people concurrently anyway, so I'm a bit curious on the player count. Also, we've been building up to Mortal Kombat, which is, of course, launching in a few months now on all platforms. And, well, we keep wondering about guest characters. Who could be in the game outside of the usuals? We're still trying to figure out the usuals, by the way, that are in there, where we just found out about Jade and Cabal, for example. Well, Hideki Kamiya seems to want Bayonetta in Mortal Kombat. I do wonder how that would work out, if it would work at all. Now, Hideki Kamiya pretty much just tweeted it out, as you're seeing here, and, okay, that got fans going crazy for a minute, thinking that maybe that could happen, although Kamiya has been known to kind of mess with people on Twitter anyway, and I don't really think WB or even NetherRealm would just want him to just tweet that out if it wasn't happening, or Ed Boon, so I don't think Bayonetta's going to Mortal Kombat. It would be interesting, though. Again, I'm not really sure how many people would even want that, because remember, if you want your favorite character to go to Mortal Kombat, you have to also be willing to let any of the characters pretty much decimate them completely with fatalities. So keep that in mind. If you want like a certain character in there, you're gonna watch them get destroyed in every way imaginable. People's faces keep falling off over there, so consider that when you want your favorite character in that game. And guys, some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're actually gonna start with Google. So we've been talking about Google for a little while now, right? How we heard last year that they were doing something in gaming. We thought it was something with streaming. Turns out Project Stream was a reality. We've tried it. Some of us have played it. I've played it with Assassin's Creed, and well, it seemed to work, but there were a lot of rumors about more to come. Remember, we saw them talking with Bandai Namco for some reason about something. And then we keep hearing about rumors, and we've talked about them here on this very channel, about a game console that they're working on. Not necessarily one that needs to stream, but one that could be local, like your Xbox or your PlayStation, or I guess your Switch even. So, well, it looks like they're ready to announce it. And that's actually going to happen at GDC next month, in March. Yeah, this is happening pretty soon now. It's going to be interesting to see what they're going to announce there. They sent out invitations to a lot of gaming websites and gaming journalists, and Jason Schreier actually even put up the invitation where it's actually happening March 19th, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern. We don't know what they're going to announce there. All they have done is invited people. And based on the people they're inviting, it does indeed appear to be something to do with gaming, whether it's a gaming streaming service, whether they have actual games to announce, exclusives, and a new console. This is a big deal, especially because this could be the next big company to enter gaming, and they wouldn't be entering quietly. I'll say that, okay? We're going to be talking about more of this leading up to it, so keep an eye out for a rumor wave video of some kind with some actual information that's exclusive, because it sounds like Google is, they're showing up with some force, okay, is what we're going to say here. Don't be surprised if they show up with their own game console. Don't be surprised if they show up with their own exclusive games created by studios you might not expect to help push their system forward. Now, they could also just be showing off their game streaming service that could even go live like soonish after that. But going to GDC, Game Developers Conference, I think they're actually going to be showing a lot. And they've been putting a ton of money into this gaming project of theirs. So if they're going to show up and show everything, we might have a new console on our hands. So keep an eye out for this, because things are going to be getting interesting, and I will keep you guys up to date as we get closer and when the event happens. Next up, let's talk about Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Because it is a live service, and the one thing I've told you guys about live services in the past is that they can change on a dime. We could have a live service like a Call of Duty be one thing, and then later on, after the reviews are out, by the way, and the initial sales, they can then incorporate loot boxes, and that appears to be what's happening. They have pretty much snuck them into the Grand Heist update, which is a very fitting name, I guess, if you really think about it. This update has now hit the PS4. It's hitting other consoles next week, so the Xbox and PC and everything, and it will be incorporating loot boxes they have dubbed cases. Now, what are cases? Well, apparently they are just that. They are loot boxes with cosmetic items in them, and you can earn currency to buy them in-game, whether you're playing multiplayer or blackout mode, and then of course you can just buy them in the black market. Now, why is this not sitting well with people? Well, I mean, if you look at Black Ops 4, it's a $60 game. It has a $50 season pass, and then it has loot boxes and a black market and a full grind ahead of you to get stuff before time runs out. This is a very expensive game if you start adding everything up, right? I mean, if you just look at the season pass and the $6 entry fee, it's $110. This is a lot of money just to buy in to get everything that you can initially use to play. And then you got the loot box in the black market. This is kind of reminding me of what EA did with Battlefront 2. Now, EA, of course, tied progression in with loot boxes, and it was Star Wars, so that really didn't sit well. We're kind of getting to that point where Activision is really, I mean, they are really pushing right now with in-game monetization. I'm curious how long that's going to work for them, to the point where, do people get tired of it? Because here's the thing, I think I know why they're doing this. EA is not exactly pushing them with Battlefield. Battlefield 5 just didn't do that well. And I think Activision realizes that they can really push, and I mean, they're the de facto shooter right now, right? That everyone's playing online, technically. So loot boxes are in, there you go. As soon as it updates, you'll be able to buy loot boxes and open them. You can buy them with real currency if you want, and that's live services, guys. I'm telling you, they duped a lot of reviewers at this point. People reviewed it, said, wow, there's no microtransactions, there's no loot boxes, and that was at the end of last year, right in October, and here we are now sitting in February, and it has all of that. So it can change pretty fast, and I think this is a strategy going forward for some of these companies, definitely for Activision, where these games will change after reviews and after your initial purchase. Next up, let's talk about Square Enix and what they expect from this year, because they did their financial earnings conference call and everything and talked to investors. Turns out the holidays weren't the best for them. Just Cause 4 didn't do great. The new Tomb Raider game didn't really do great, and it was down year over year for them, but they did talk up investors pretty well, while also telling them nothing. So this is kind of what happens. They're not ready to talk about this big trump card that's coming up this year, but they show this graph as you're seeing here, and they are expecting a very sizable bump towards the holidays as you're seeing. That is kind of their forecast. You can see a bit of a jump there towards the end, and now everyone's trying to figure out why would there be a large jump at the end. That tells me and everyone else pretty much that they are expecting something big to take place, some large game. And we know about two right now, right? We know that there is the Avengers project that we have seen nothing about other than I guess we've heard about it and maybe seen a logo I think at one point. And then of course we know about Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is a game that absolutely would cause your fiscal year to spike out of nowhere. Everyone, I think, for the most part, wants to know more about that game and would like to buy it. I do actually wonder what would do better, the Avengers project or Final Fantasy VII Remake, although Final Fantasy VII Remake will probably show up and look completely different from what we remember, and we haven't even seen the Avengers project, so we're pretty much going by name alone. Now, they've also talked about trying to get games out faster. It appears that the way they're going to do that is to kind of restructure a bit internally. They currently have 11 business divisions, and they're going to be shrinking them down to 4. Not necessarily cutting people off or, laying them off or anything. No, it sounds like they're restructuring to make it so that there is way less communication needed between divisions, and they can all kind of work together, or I guess independently with 4 of them, rather than 11. Yeah, I kind of see now why they've been taking a while to get certain projects done if there is mismanagement internally that we assume. Maybe it's just hard to manage all of these divisions, and if you have 4 of them and they can all work kind of together or independently at times, and maybe one division can work on 2 games or assets or who knows at any one time, it might help to get these games out a bit faster. But we're also not considering the obvious here for a game that could spike sales that isn't even announced yet. That's right, I'm talking about The Quiet Man 2. That would do it. No. It's probably, honestly, at this point, it might actually be the Avengers project, the more that I think about it, because, of course, we have the a movie coming up, Infinity Wars Part 2, and then we also assume that just because we haven't seen it doesn't necessarily mean it wouldn't come out. It seems like a good year for that to happen, and that would be a massive collaboration, and it would also answer why they're really not telling investors what they're talking about, because they were asked, what are you talking about? And, well, they just said, we can't tell you. And that would actually make sense because it's in collaboration, of course, with Marvel, and they maybe have coordinations around when they want to actually announce it and say, yes, the Avengers project is coming this year. So that's kind of what I'm thinking right now, but let me know what you think about what this project could be. Is it Final Fantasy VII or is it just the Avengers project? In our last bit of news, let's talk about the MPD numbers for January because those should be coming up soon. I think they were even delayed a bit. But we will be getting them in a little bit anyway. However, the numbers technically are out there, and they've actually been leaked out, at least it appears. Now, the source that's coming from is on Reset Era, but they have posted in the past correct numbers, and while these could be off based on the numbers themselves, they're pretty far apart to give us the idea of kind of the rankings and where the system's placed. And if you had to take a guess right now, looking at January, which system do you think would be number 1? Because I think a lot of people would probably say PS4 with, of course, Kingdom Hearts, and then Resident Evil coming in right at the end to push them over the edge. Actually, it seems like it's the Switch, and it's the Switch by a fair margin, as you're seeing some of the supposed leaked numbers here. The Switch, 284,000, the PlayStation 4, 195,000, and then the Xbox One, 101,000. It seems like the Xbox One actually maybe struggled just to get over 100,000, but the Switch probably was driven, I would assume, by more Smash, and then, of course, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. I told you guys, 2D Mario still sells, even if a lot of us played it on the Wii U and think it might have been overpriced. The market that is gathering around the Switch clearly was not part of the Wii U era, so it's interesting enough to them to buy into it. The PlayStation 4, interestingly enough, was down year over year, as well as the Xbox One, but the Switch is up year over year. So interesting about Kingdom Hearts, and I guess Resident Evil didn't help push it too much, although I've said it before, I mean, a lot of people have PS4s at this point, right? I think most people do, especially after that massive Black Friday deal with Spider-Man. It was something else. So we're just getting to that point now, as we come up on 100 million PlayStation 4s, where I just think they're running out of people to sell to. That's pretty much it. I think the game sold well. I bet you either Kingdom Hearts or Resident Evil was number 1 in terms of games, but just who do you sell a PS4 to anymore? That's why. Like when the PS5 comes out, I'm sure there'll be a massive spike and they'll be off and running like crazy again. Ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it's Google's this gaming project that they are announcing. Do you think it's a console? Do you think it's a service? We'll find out next month at GDC. It's very interesting to see that. And then what do you think Square Enix's this mystery game, this mystery reason for why their sales would spike so much during the holiday season coming up? Let me know what you guys think about that down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.